I am going to be showing you guys just a little bit of demo stuff with eyeshadow building and eyeshadow shaping and eyeshadow doing, just to give you guys you know, a little montage of makeup looks so that you can sort of identify some different eye shapes. That's what we've been working on this week, and also just classic eye makeup looks and basic looks. So take a look at some of the technique and the way the brushes are moving around and how much pressure is applied, and see if it can give you a little bit of inspiration on today's video. We're going to bring in some cream shadow to start with doing this cat eye look. Close your eyes for me, Shannon. It's really important to see which areas of the eye you're going to be maneuvering with and shaping the eye. So I'm getting an imaginary line in my head before I'm even attempting it. So I'm going to take up a little bit of this color. It's actually a navy tone, and that's going to serve for a nice cool undertone for the eyeshadow later, and it's going to help the eyeshadow to adhere. And I'm actually just drawing an outline of the shape that I want and applying it all over the lid. And I know this seems dramatic and scary, but when we're all done, it'll look really neat. So I'm just applying it nicely all over the eye, on the lid. And just use your brush to help guide you on where you want that line to go. And I'm just outlining a bit of a line here to make a slightly catty shape on the end, and then use the flat side of your brush to kind of drag it all across, and just get it nicely and evenly placed as possible. When you're going to be putting the eyeshadow on later, it will also be covering a lot of this, so it will help to blend and make it look nice and even. So just do the best you can to get smooth coverage when doing this. It's just a fantastic look for going out with, or if you just are just sick of the same old neutral, natural look and you want something dramatic and exciting for a change, try something like this, because it's a good thing to do to just give you a bit of a boost. Okay, so we're just getting that basically laid all over. Then I'm going to get my black cat color, which is pretty close to a charcoal. Just got a little flash there. It's this color here. It's a charcoal color, and I'm going to go over top of all of that. Use my eyeshadow brush. I'm just going to take it out of the lid. I'm going to tap it onto my hand and make sure it's nicely and evenly placed, distributed. I'm going to lightly go over all of this. I'm using a pigment which is a nice eyeshadow to use because it goes on very smooth. It is the purest form of eyeshadow, and you won't have to fuss a lot with it not being blended. So layer it on nice and thick on the lid by dabbling it on gently. And if you stay controlled with your brush, you won't get as much falling debris. If you do happen to get a little bit, you just take your sponge and wipe underneath there as soon as it falls down, so you don't have it sticking to your skin. And just nicely go over it and make sure everything is thoroughly blended. Just adding a little bit back onto there. Okay. And just check both sides to make sure you've got your wings sort of the same area, so they're nicely distributed evenly. So we're just putting that on everywhere. Your next step is going to be to grab your eyeliner pencil and look up for me, Shannon. And I want you to go through and thoroughly cover the rim, a nice heavy smoky feel. Okay, close your eyes and just go over the lid as well to make sure you've got no little white spots. Open. Take your eyeshadow back again and go over the under bit that you did, Pencil likes to slide around and you don't want that happening. Look up. So you always want to make sure that you seal it up with a bit of shadow over top of the pencil. I got a tiny bit of falling debris, so I'll show you guys how to pick that up. Just grab it with your sponge and it will clean right up for you if you grab it immediately. Look up. Good. And just go through and gently put it on the entire bottom. If you get an eyeshadow that's giving you a lot of trouble, try wetting it. It's a good little trick. Pigments are really forgiving, however. I find them easy to work with. Okay. Your next step is going to be just to grab a great precision liquid liner. Close your eyes for me. And you're going to do a nice little cat eye line across the lid and extend it slightly further. That's great. You could take your brush and just go over it so it's nicely blended through. Reinforces the line. And last but not least, we're going to take our mascara and just go over your lashes. Look at the shoulder for me. Just touch. We've obviously put a false lash down for this look. A cat eye look is kind of a necessity to have false lashes unless you've got super duper natural lashes. Look right here. And then just touch the bottom. And I'll show you guys a final trick to add intensity. Grab a little bit of mascara onto your brush. Touch it on my hand to make sure I don't have too much. And look up for me, Shannon. And just grab that little bit of mascara and add a little touch across the bottom, because mascara has a lot of wax in it and it's fantastic for a liner if you're doing something intense. So don't forget to use your makeup for anything that you feel like it might benefit you for, and there's no rules to makeup. You can always break the rules if you want to peek at them. So that's a little bit of an instruction for a cat eye look, and we're going to go forward with her lips.
Hi, I finally got to see the final look of how I look afterwards and stuff, and I really like it. It's something totally different for me. It just looks fantastic. It's exciting, it's different, it's dramatic, and I just feel like going out on the town now. So I just really want to say thank you very much, and yeah, it's great. I'm going to do photo shoot and have fun with it.
For eyeshadow, we're going to be doing kind of a dramatic eye, something fun. I'm going to be using a really nice creamy base. It's got a little bit of shimmer to it. It's like that. Close your eyes. And I'm actually using my finger to press it on. I find a creamy base has more of a strong effect when you press it on as opposed to trying to use a brush. I don't think you get as much pigment out of it as when you use your finger. So just make sure that your hands are well sanitized ahead of time. And you could just use a simple hand sanitizer to make sure that it's in good shape. Alright. Just going to touch your arch a little bit up here. I might have rubbed it a little bit. Okay. Alright, now, I know a lot of you want to do dramatic eyes and you have a really hard time with it. Basics to creating, in my books, to creating a great eye makeup that's not going to be ending up all underneath her eye, is you got to start small and slow. Start with a light brown that doesn't intimidate. Don't go for the dark black or dark brown yet. And you want to just start to create a little bit of depth. This is what I call her focal point area right here. I'm drawing a little bit of a triangle. The lighter you press, the easier it is to blend. The harder you push, the more your eyeshadow gets very stubborn. If you're just kind of gliding along the surface of the eye, it will move a lot for you. So just like a little tickle of a brush stroke. And it's going to be much smoother. I see a lot of makeup artist slapping on the makeup and then trying to move it around and blend it later. I like to blend as I go along, and that way I'm not fighting with the eye and pulling on the eye a lot. So right now I'm just creating a little bit of depth. So I've done a light brown. Now I'm going to go a little bit deeper with the brown. I'm just going with neutrals right now, just to show you how to structure the eye. Again, in that focal point area, a little more focused within that crease. Keep a sponge in your hand so that if you do have any really tiny bits of falling debris, you can clean it up. And keep really good control of how much product you have on your brush at one time. You can use your hand to kind of knock off a little of the excess. So we're creating a little more depth. I know with a lot of the videos I've been watching on YouTube, kind of trying to learn a little bit how they do it, I find them moving really quick through their instruction or through their tutorials, and find it a little bit hard to understand some of what they're trying to teach. So I'm going a little bit slower to give you a little more clear information on how to do this. So I'm using a darker black, brown black right now to add even more depth. And once you put a little bit of that on, I want you to back off and go to one of your lighter browns, put a little bit of that in and use that to blend it through, and it'll give a lot cleaner look than if you just keep adding dark and dark and dark. It'll just start to get gummy and messy. If you love color, you can start with all these neutrals and you can add color on to this look any color you want. You could add purple onto it, you could add greens, you could add pinks, anything. And I'll show you how you do that in a little bit, just to add a splash of color. This is the best way for who's kind of not wanting to go too excessive with color but wants to experiment. This is the best way to do that. Just working it through, and just make sure that it's nice and clean under there. Now that we've sealed it, it's pretty easy to dust off if you have a little bit of debris falling. Okay, and I'm just going to add a little bit of color. Have fun with it. If you want to add a little bit of pigment, sometimes it's a good idea to actually press on the pigment, because again, you'll get more out of it with your finger on some of the eyeshadows than you will a brush when you're pushing in pigment. So just give it a little lilac, just add something interesting to it. Okay, coming back to the eyes, we're going to be working on eyeliner and mascara. I went ahead and completed this eye. Close your eyes, Hetty. And what I'm doing right now is I'm using a paste. It's a little bit of eyeshadow and water, black, mixed together, a brush. And I'm just going to lift the corner of the eye a little bit by applying the liner slightly extended and slightly upwards. And it does give you a little bit of an eye lift. So it's a really good tip for somebody who's got slightly droopy eyes as well. Okay. And a really good trick for getting the inner corner to have you look down this way is have them move their eye to downward corner, and that'll allow you to get that inner corner completely finished. And just keep working with that paste, which is black eyeshadow and water, mixed together and pressed into the brush until you get, close your eyes, until you get the right shape that you want in your eyeliner. And we're doing a fairly dramatic look for Tabby, so this is a little bit thicker of a line and it's quite lifted. Okay, open, look up. I'm going to touch the corner of it with the brush, but I'm going to go in there with a secondary liner, which is my pencil, look up. And I'm going to rim her rim. And this really brings a lot of focus in towards the eye, and it adds a lot of drama. And this is a really great trick if you want to make your eyes look even more finished. Look down a little bit, Tabby. I'm going to lift the upper rim and color in as much as I can, especially since Tabby's blonde, and she gets a little bit blonde towards the base of her lashes. This will help with that a little bit. And then you can go ahead and dot little bits, because I'm going to give it more of a smudgy, dramatic look along the lash line. Go over top of all that with your paste again, and what will happen is, look up, you know how we've all run into falling debris, and also your liner will kind of smudge down underneath later on in the day. If you put a paste in place, it'll block it. I'm doing that. Then you want to wiggle your brush so that it gives it a little more of a smoldery effect, not so liney. Close your eyes. And that is how you get a really nice dramatic eye with a little touch of smokiness to it. And everything's going in an upwards direction. With the mascara, look at the shoulder blade. With mascara, you just want to try to cover the lashes in all directions. You can go a little bit on top to get the top of the lashes, and then you can also be brushing upwards, trying to give it a nice coating. Tabby's got a lot of lashes already, so I'm just going to do one good strong coat for her. You can go back and do a second coat later, depending on how much lash you have. Okay, look at my nose. Just be careful when you're putting on mascara to not look too high or too low so that you don't have little bloop marks up and above, up here and underneath the eye. And that's how you get a good dramatic eyeliner.